Right now, Eric Trump is back in court for a second day of testimony in the family's $250 million civil fraud trial. Yesterday, he pushed back against questions about his involvement in his father's financial statements. He testified, quote, "I pour concrete. I operate properties. I don't focus on appraisals." Let's go to the courthouse, and MSNBC's Lindsay Reiser also with us, former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuade. So, Lindsay, what more did we hear from Eric Trump, and what kind of questioning do we anticipate today?
And before I get into what we heard from Eric, I want to talk about what's happening in the courtroom right now, because we're hearing more about the law clerk, the judge opening up the proceedings today. And I want to read from our notes from our producer, Adam Reeson's side. "Unless there is a real reason, you should not mention members of my staff." Remember, there's a partial gag order in the case. The judge saying the former president cannot talk about any members of his staff. He said yesterday he might expand that to attorneys over this similar back and forth we're hearing now. Chris Kise, Trump's attorneys, saying, "So how do I make complaints? There are things we have observed that appear to have inherent bias." The judge saying there's no bias here. He says, "I won't pound the table, but I reserve every right to talk to my clerk." Of course, he's referring to yesterday when he, in fact, did pound on the table in his frustration. All the while this was happening yesterday, Eric Trump seemed kind of uncomfortable on the stand, but there was something else really significant that happened in court, Anna, and that is the Attorney General's office trying to get Eric to concede that even though he has confidently stated in video deposition and on the stand that he has nothing to do with the statements of financial condition or appraisals, that he did know about them and even offered information for them at one point, saying, "Look, we're a major corporation." He was getting frustrated. "Of course, I know we have financial statements." But then there's some other things that the AG's office brought up, like a 2021 conversation that Eric didn't seem to remember. This was after he had been notified that the AG's office was investigating all of this. So they're trying to bring up these lapses in memory, these sort of back and forth of, okay, are you involved in these financial statements or aren't you? Remember, at the crux of this are those financial statements that the Attorney General's office said contained overvalued assets, essentially accusing Trump, his sons, the Trump organization, Ivanka's no longer a co-defendant, of taking part in this fraudulent years-long scheme. Now, we can expect more direct examination of Eric Trump today. Don Jr. is done. And then the former president on Monday, in fact, Anna, Secret Service today, was taking a look at everything today ahead of his visit, Anna.
Okay, Lindsay Reiser, lots of action here in this courthouse. Thanks for the reporting. Barbara, we heard Eric Trump argue, "I pour concrete. I don't focus on appraisals." We also heard a variation of that, I think, from his brother, Don Jr. Here he is outside the courthouse yesterday following his testimony.
Before even having a day in court, I'm apparently guilty of fraud for relying on my accountant to do, wait for it, accounting. I mean, think about that. What does that do for literally any other business? You pay experts millions of dollars to be experts. You sign off on what they give you, and you're liable.
So wait, they run the company. Given that, is deniability a plausible defense?
Yeah, what they seem to have done here is made a choice on the one hand, they could admit to fraud and say, yes, I was very familiar with those numbers, and I knew because the judge, of course, has already found about these gross misrepresentations in the values of these numbers. That's one choice. Or the other choice, which they seem to have made, is to say, I don't know anything. I'm sure I'm the boss, but all I do is sign what gets put in front of me, and I just rely on other people to decide what those numbers are. It is, at the end of the day, in a civil case, not going to be sufficient to overcome legal liability, to say I recklessly disregarded the facts and just signed whatever got put in front of me. That is not the fiduciary duty of an officer of a corporation. And so I think they're almost conceding civil liability rather than admit to fraud, which could expose them to criminal charges and certainly damage the reputation of the company and Donald Trump himself.
Well, next week we'll hear from Donald Trump, also hear from their sister Ivanka Trump. What do prosecutors need to accomplish with that testimony?
Well, again, because the judge has already found fraud, it's really just about the valuation of these numbers. I think that they're going to find out whatever they can from Donald Trump. I imagine he will use a similar strategy. I'm such a busy man. I don't know if he'll say he pours concrete, which I'm sure even Eric Trump didn't mean to be literally true. But, my focus is on bigger fish to fry. I imagine we'll see a similar strategy from both Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump as we go forward. But, you know, it sort of reminds me of the old Ronald Reagan defense. Like, I don't know anything. I don't remember anything. I didn't know anything. And I had these operatives running things behind the scenes. I'm not sure that that is as helpful to his reputation as he thinks it is when you think about someone who's running for president.
I can't help but remember that Trump's been fined $15,000 already for violating a gag order. He's been repeatedly attacking the judge. Do you think he'll take a different tone on the stand?
On the stand, he may. You know, I think he's counting on his lawyers to be the ones who are the heavies here. And so whenever they are complaining about the clerk, this is, I think, all about creating a narrative that the trial was unfair to Donald Trump. You know, the clerk is passing notes to the judge. Of course the clerk is passing notes to the judge. That's what clerks do. They are there to help the judge and assist with legal issues and be their eyes and ears. While the judge is focused on the case, the clerk is observing other things and sharing information with the judge. And to suggest that that is somehow nefarious, I think, is just building a record so that Donald Trump can later say, look, the deck was stacked against me. The court and staff were biased, when, you know, that is just based on a house of cards.